Balls aren't showing.
There you go. Let's open this up the right way. Make sure that your balls aren't showing. Welcome to Toast of the Weird, where I forgot to charge our regular camera. So this is probably going to have better video quality camera time. Anyway, yeah, so that's an excellent question. How is it that we can see the smoke from a volcano stay stationary, but on a train we see it move? Because the Earth is moving at 16 miles an hour.
16,000 miles an hour.
Okay, 16,000 miles an hour.
And a constant rotation, the tilt of the Earth.
Well, which way is the train going? Is it going contra to the rotation of the Earth or with the rotation of the Earth?
Well, either way, you would see. Well, the example they give is just the train is momentum. You see the smoke and you see the smoke trail.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if a volcano is on the Earth and the Earth is moving and it's blowing up smoke, which is now stationary, and the volcano is moving, why is the smoke stationary the entire time?
Is it an African swallow or a European swallow that can bring the coconut to Europe?
I think it also was lemurs. They talked about how a continent could have been at that time because lemurs are found on different continents and there's no way they would have crossed or something like that, different oceans.
Unless it was Pangea.
Not Pangea. I think it's Lemuria. I think that's where that comes from.
Oh, we're getting fancy now.
How fast does the Earth spin?
Yes, we're going to figure this out right now. It's like they carbon dated bees to 5 million years old. 5 million years ago.
Good.
Whatever Paleolithic era that is, but they found a bee in amber from that era, and they're like, wow, this was 5 million years ago. Kind of like that, I guess, but they've been all over.
Have you seen one of my favorite conspiracy things, quote unquote?
You just got done saying you didn't like that term.
I don't, but it's true. So one of my favorite ones is, two. There's the ancient screw and there's the ancient hammer.
Okay.
They found a screw made of whatever material inside of a rock when they were mining. Cracked it open, there's a screw inside there.
All right.
And they're like, there's no way, etc. And then the other one, this is one that's even harder because that one, they're like, oh, well, it could have fallen down a crack and blah, 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 geology, and it wasn't really in this rock. It was, anyway. This other one is harder to explain. They have a hammer made of, I think it's 90% iron or some quality of iron that we still have trouble duplicating today.
Okay.
That isn't a rock, that the rock formed around the handle of the hammer.
Okay. I think I've seen this where it's like, it's literally a hammer, undeniably.
Yes, it's a handle and a part of it. And this is also where they can't debunk it because the wooden handle is turning to coal.
Turning to coal.
So it shows exactly how long that wood has been sitting inside that rock for because it's turning into a different material. So they can't be like, oh, well, it's X amount of years old only. Like, no, it has to be minimum of this date because it's turning into coal.
That's weird.
Yeah, so supposedly it's millions of years old because it's formed around a rock and the wood is turning into freaking coal, and the alloy that the hammerhead is made out of is extremely rare or hard to duplicate by nowadays standards.
Yeah, it's something that shouldn't be in existence because it was already proven right now that we have trouble with our technology to duplicate it, replicate it, or create it.
I gotta look this up. There's actually a phrase for this.
Aliens.
What's the phrase for out of place archaeology discoveries? There's an actual term for it. What's that? OPART? Out of place archaeology.
OPART. Out of place archaeology.
Yeah, so there's so many of these things occurring, they actually have a phrase for it in archaeology.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm kind of like on Team Graham Stephan when it comes to all that archaeology stuff, just because of the evidence that he's provided. He's like, standard archaeology will deny all of this. And he's like, I got pictures upon pictures upon pictures. And then everybody goes, well, it's just AI because the technology today is like, explain the picture from my archive in 1987 or whatever the hell, you know? Aliens.
He doesn't say it, but he's in the group, I think, that perpetuates the idea. And it's true that science is really religion. You don't question religion. You don't question, you have to be faithful.
But that was the whole point of science that I learned when I grew up, was to question everything. Question everything. Unless it doesn't fit in this box, then don't question it.
I think it was the 1800s or 1900s that science really shifted in the sense of the white European viewpoint of history, and that's where a lot of prehistory notions come from, because they cannot perceive that an ancient non-white civilization was more advanced than them, and that's where a lot of the ideas come from. I know specifically that's where like the like downplaying of indigenous tribes came from the Smithsonian. Is they're just like, there's no way that these people could be more advanced than the British, colony at the time. There's no way that, so...
Yeah, like, what is it? They always make fun of it in, like, the 1920, the early 1900 era movies, where it's like, the Gentleman's Hunting Club only allows you in if you've discovered something legitimate.
Exactly, yeah.
Where everybody talked like this because they didn't understand how to speak on film. I still don't know how to speak on film. I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna talk like that.
You go from finger painting to becoming Picasso at whatever level, but that's fine.
Right? Interview at the local book fair at the college. We had an interview with an artist, and everybody was like, "Wow, when did you learn how to draw like that?" And he responds with, "When did you stop drawing?"
Yeah, I mean, everyone doodled as a kid, and then just did.
Yeah, the artisans in this world are beating the crap out of it because they see no value in the art form. No value in the art form. Yet everybody's looking for the grasshopper in the wintertime, to use a pun. Speaking of the grasshopper versus the ant, have you heard of this big, beautiful bill? It just passed. It's a load of bullshit, if you ask me. But that's just because I'm a common working man and I don't make over $500,000 a year, and I don't own any businesses currently. I don't count YouTube as business, because dang old man, if we made some money off of this, I wouldn't have to work so damn hard.
I think that it goes to show, and there should be some sort of legal ramifications if you try to sneak in laws.
Yeah.
I absolutely, I think that someone should be held accountable if they're like, you know what, like because I know stuff like this gets passed when people aren't paying attention, because that's what I've heard about it.
That's why, yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff that comes out over the weekends, like Saturday, Sunday nights. So much stuff that people are just like not paying attention to. It's kind of sad.
Well, it's designed. And even too, like, I know that whatever bill it was, I think it was maybe the Patriot Act, there was one person talking about how they're like, I left on this day, everything was fine. I went back home, I get some notification the government's going to get shut down if we don't do this. I come back, he's like, the bill's already signed. He's like, I was at home. And they do stuff like that on purpose because you only have to have a majority of whatever, and technically if Christmas Eve, if there's only 3 people in wherever, like, it's just some bullshit. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's why the big beautiful bill was passed on July 4th, because it sounds absolutely amazing. It's marketed amazingly. Don't get me wrong, that's awesome. But if you look into the bill and see what actual things are done, like the no tax on tips. Let's use that for an example. That sounds amazing, right? No tax on tips for those of you who are tipped workers. You will no longer have tax on the tips, except for in 2028 when it goes away after the midterms happen. So I'm just pontificating that the Republicans are going to blame the Democrats when there's a big blue wave. If there is a big blue wave, I doubt that that's going to happen.
Wait, you're talking about a temporary law, or the fact that it's literally like, hey, we're going to do this, but only for a few years?
Yeah, hey, we're only going to do this, and it sunsets in 2028. That's basically what it is. The bill, the provision has a sunset rule. So all these tipped wage workers are going to have no taxes on their tips. The ones that are always 100% reported.
Claimed tips, absolutely, yeah.
So there's no tax on that for a number of years. And then it just goes away. So everybody's going to get used to reporting their taxes, or their tips on their taxes, and then it's going to go away. And then after the midterm election, it's going to just blow up. It's a ticking time bomb. Then they're going to blame the Democrats because they take power, or whatever the case may be. Or they'll just be like, yeah, we designed it this way to see if it worked. However they're going to fucking spin it. Sorry, I used the F-bomb.
Where's my train of thought?
All right, so the next thing that I had on the agenda. Okay.
Is the big
We're back.
beautiful bill, is that where Medicaid and SNAP/EBT is going to disappear from? Because I've
Yes,
seen a lot of that.
5% of the workers who are working on the approval side were let go and told to turn in their equipment.
What do you mean?
For SNAP. So
the people approving the SNAP benefits?
Yes, the caseworkers who are the ones who approve or deny those cases, which there's going to be an alarming raise of, in my opinion. 5% of them have been let go, and there's going to be a backlog. Now, as someone who has been on SNAP and food assistance benefits periodically throughout my life, I understand that before applying for it is a nightmare, and that alone is a deterrent to not be on SNAP or Medicaid. Just trying to apply for it. Like, you need it, but you got to go through a month-long process just to see if you might possibly be approved for 50 cents or whatever meager breadcrumbs they throw you. Anyway, that's a nightmare. And then they cut 5% of the current workforce because they've cut funding. So obviously workers are the biggest expense, and they have to let them go. People were notified by letter that they have to turn in their equipment and that they were being relieved. Yeah. So, yes, Medicare and SNAP benefits have been cut from the federal level, which is going to take its toll on majority red states, as I understand it, because the majority of people in red states are on these programs. Not to mention that this is just going to give massive tax cuts to billionaires. Actually, you should look up the Big Beautiful Bill's tiers of tax cuts. Like, it's all the way up until you make $500,000 or whatever that you actually get a benefit. Like, if you make 40 or low, you lose 1,600. If you make, 100,000 or less, you lose 1,300. It's really ridiculous, the amount of cuts that are in that for the wealthy.
Well,
the more affluent.
I was going to say, define wealthy, because
I just did.
Nowadays,
over $500,000 a year.
Yeah?
Yes. I would use my phone to look up these stats, but, we're recording.
Well,
because that's dead.
If you make 100,000 or more in America, like, you're the top 1% of earners, I believe.
No, in order to live a comfortable life, a family of 4 needs to make something like $230,000 a year. By today's dollars.
Define comfortable, and who has that step.
You're able to afford food, you're able to afford a house, you're able to afford a vehicle, and you're able to... Did I say healthcare yet? You're able to afford healthcare. That's how.
And this without a job or whatever?
No, that's with $230,000 a year income for a family to live comfortably.
Family of how many?
4.
Yeah, that's a big-ass family.
Yeah.
Well, 2 parents and 2 kids.
Yeah. That's not a big-ass family. That's your average size. Your average size household is 2.5.
I didn't know you and your wife made $200,000.
Oh, we fucking don't. Public service, here we are. Yeah.
Well, where did that come from? Because that seems excessive. That seems like an excessive amount of money.
It's whatever economist does the standard of living calculations.
Because, like, to me, honestly, if you and your wife were pulling that in, because that would mean both of you were making over $100,000 a year, you guys would be balling, like, with respect or whatever, like, like you would be
you'd
doing pretty well as far as,
Exactly. You'd be living a comfortable life. That's the point.
Well, again, to me, that level of comfort, it just seems, high up. So I think if you and your wife were both making $80,000 a piece, that seems more comfortable. I think $100,000 a year. Of course, then again, too, like, I don't know how much kids cost. I know the average, on the internet. I guess that's the big thing, is the kids.
This is also a national average, not taking into account your local economics and all that stuff. So,
okay.
But I mean, I would live damn comfortable on $230,000 a year, according to those statistics.
Of course, I guess if you lived in New York or California, kind of thing, like, and then housing's a big issue, yeah.
Yeah, but if you look at the averages, right? The averages are super weighted by the billionaires, the people who earn billions of dollars, because there's 818 of them, something like that. And if you take
there
out
was like
the
3,000 billionaires.
in the States.
Okay, the states, worldwide, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about the States. Sorry, the rest of the world. Only America matters. And by America, I mean the United States of America. Canada, Mexico, we're still at war with you.
We're in a drug war and a trade war.
Yeah, we're in all kinds of
tariff
we're
war.
fucked. We're fucked. Anyway, yeah, any of those facts you want to check me on, by all means, go for it, because my phone is recording.
Here's a crazy fact that someone threw out there, not to condone or condemn any political party, but apparently, I don't know if this was the first time or only time, but our national debt was wiped away from 39 to 1845 or something like that.
Okay.
I believe it was Andrew Jackson he was talking about.
I think so, yeah. That rings a bell.
Right? Because
Fact check us.
It was like 18 something 5 to 18 whatever. It was like 5 years, 7 years or whatever. We went from our debt was 60 million, it went down to nothing.
Yep.
And apparently the way we did this was through tariffs.
Okay.
There was no income tax. They did everything through tariffs, and tariffs were like 40-some%. And then they dropped it down to like 26% and introduced it like income tax, and it was only supposed to be for a few years, so...
And that became permanent because you can't not feed a greedy hog.
And well, technically, again, too, there's no law or statute anywhere that says we have to pay income tax. We're just all used to paying it. We're all used to the idea of the IRS. There is no law or statute. Well, there's penalties.
Yeah.
There's no law. There's no law anywhere because there's been documentaries done by people from the IRS themselves that are asking their bosses, "Hey, where's this at?" And then at the end of it, they're like, "I don't claim my taxes anymore." Because it's literally illegal. It's literally illegal to collect income tax. It's fraud. We're all just used to it.
I'm too afraid of the stick to try and chase that carrot.
We're all just used to it, and the fact that the IRS isn't even, it just seems absolutely ridiculous.
And other rabbit holes we can take you down. Why not?
There was again, same documentary that talked about how, because here's the real gaff that we all get sold. Well, your taxes pay for your roadways and your right? No. All of the corporate taxes alone pay for all of that stuff. All of our taxes go to pay all of the oligarchs and the billionaires their money, which we don't necessarily even need to pay them because it's interest and usury and compound interest and generational debt and national debt and
So you can scream into the void all you want to, but once you start talking about the banks and the money system, then that's when people get canceled and really disappeared. You can't just tell people that they should look into these things.
And taxes and the amount of taxes that were and has grown in the last 100, let alone 50 years. And why should you pay someone to get married?
We just celebrated a holiday where they were like, you know what, a 4% tax on tea is too much.
I've heard 2, 3, 4%. So yeah, and again, too, looking into it, apparently it was only like affecting one small business or one business that was in America or something. Like, it just doesn't even seem. And did you even see how like it was actually done too? This is some really racist stuff. So the whole Boston Tea Party, did you know how that actually took place apparently?
Oh, they all dressed up as Native Americans?
Yeah,
I heard that in elementary school, like, but I wasn't there. I can't prove it.
Yeah, that seems so ridiculous. So
it does. It does, but it was a bunch of natives that jumped onto the ship, my lord. Well, blast those natives. Meanwhile, Paul Revere and all them are like, we did it. Yes.
Again, too, like with respect to any of our history, we're going off of the word of a couple of people. I'm sorry, but like nowadays, with all of our technology and all the media coverage and everything, no one would believe 2 witnesses.
I'm pretty sure that you could send some divers into the Boston Harbor and just be like, are there ships down here?
Well, okay, fine.
Or were they cleaned up?
You could prove there's a ship down there, but again, too, like how A, B, and C transported to D is all rumor. Even like our ancient, history comes from like what, Herodotus and like 3 or 4 other people.
Yeah,
so
and then the Library of Alexandria was burned, and we don't really know what happened because we weren't really there. That's the whole thing that gets me about these rabbit holes. It's like you can't prove anything, so why even look into it?
Have you seen the buildings with the changed dates on them? That's my favorite one right now.
No.
So there's a lot of old buildings that have like 1864 or 1664 or whatever, right?
Okay.
And they show different pictures from like the 1500s where the one is missing. And you can absolutely see in our modern era how things aren't matching up and like how it looks like things have been expanded or whatever. Like this building was from 866, not 1866. And there's tons and tons of evidence that we didn't. Okay, the term founder has been re-looked into.
Okay.
So again, literally from someone like building it, that we're used to the term founder, from someone who is accredited to finding something that it was already here.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting. So like just the World's Fairs. I think the latest one was at Portugal or whatever. It was in a different country. I grew up thinking there was a World's Fair in the United
Chicago.
States one time, the turn of the century. But no, there was tons of them every couple of years throughout different states, different parts of the world. So it's interesting. It's just extremely interesting. In the
Fact check that.
Fact check that. And all the buildings and how big they were and how fast they built them. There's one building and they talk about they built it in 53 days. Housed over 1,000 some people. And like, oh, we built it in 53 days with stucco and plyboard or whatever.
Well, when you don't have the internet or still black screens that you just stare at often, you could probably get a lot accomplished.
Well,
1 minute is a very long time.
Well, here's my favorite question when it comes to a lot of that architecture and during that time. A lot of this stuff got built during the Dark Ages, right?
Okay.
Facts. Built during the Dark Ages, etc. Gothic cathedrals, right? That's what they
Okay.
say. So you're telling me in one of the worst times in our history as humanity, in our recorded history, famine and religious upheaval and all this stuff going on, somebody thought it was a great idea to allocate all of our resources to building this shit?
Have you ever worked for a bad boss?
Oh yeah, I'm a bad boss.
Yeah, no, like, I remember having a boss and your line of work, and I was literally, like, suffering fever, chills, like snot, like it was bad. And I called in sick and my boss was like, no, you can't, you have to come in. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I came in and I made the whole neighborhood sick. I was a super spreader. I was younger, but I had a fever. I had all the symptoms and whatever. He was like, you're going to come in anyway and work.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that in the medieval ages that they were just like, we don't care that there's a plague going on. Ah!
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, who would allocate, and even if you can whip the civilians or whatever into play, like, it just doesn't seem very realistic that the entire group would be like, oh yeah, we're all dying and we can't feed our children, but let's build this giant building.
Yeah, if you get to make a pot of soup at the end of the day after you build,
Where'd the soup
motivation
come from?
is definitely
That's what I'm talking about, is like, where'd the soup come from?
the fiefs that work the land. Come on, man.
It doesn't make sense to me that if you're starving and everyone's killing each other, that the best thing to do is to have everyone build a giant church.
Okay.
That took hundreds of years to do.
Okay.
It just doesn't seem practical if you're struggling to feed your family
But this
every day.
is the way we've always done it. We've just built the building and been able to eat the bread. It's the way we've always done it. It's the way that it will always be done.
It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense that if people are running around trying to barely live, that they would be convinced to build giant structures to worship people that aren't there.
Yeah, it's amazing how like people should be worried about certain negative effects when they have to show up to work. Otherwise, they'll have these other negative effects.
You're trying to compare our work environment now with the work environment was thousands of years ago. It's not the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing. Of course not. We have electricity now.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Like, I'm just saying, humanity's always been this way, so why would they change? Why would they change back
I
then?
don't think it's always been that way. I think that's a farce.
I don't see the point that you're trying to make. It's like, why would people? No, people would do that because they fear the carrot, or they want the carrot, or fear the stick. That's what it boils down to.
I don't think that occurred. I don't think that there was a time that people were forced to build giant cathedrals when they were starving. I don't think that happened.
Okay, then
I
who built
absolutely
the
don't.
giant cathedrals over hundreds of years? Because obviously the fact is that the cathedral was built. There it is in all of its glory.
Exactly. I think that it was during a different... I don't think that the past was the way that it was presented to us. I don't think that the same thing, the idea of a caveman, Neanderthals and stuff. I don't think our ancestors were running around as we portray them in videos, covered in dirt. I don't absolutely believe it whatsoever. I don't think that some hunter-gatherer civilization ran around in loincloths. I could use the example of native indigenous tribes from whatever walk of life or whatever country. They just don't look like dirty, cave-dwelling, ignorant, beings. I just don't believe that.
You're saying the quiet part out loud again.
Nah. Of course, I'm an expansionist versus an isolationist when it comes to history. So that's just me as well.
I don't care about history because I'm too busy worried about how I'm gonna feed my family in this.
Well,
day
we're
and
in
age.
history. That's the problem. Is
We're in the now, man.
50s, 50, 60 years
So-
from now, we're in history now.
Yeah, and
Yesterday was history.
tomorrow's a mystery, and that's why they call today a present. But I always think about that. I wonder what the historians will look back at this decade and this era of our society with all of the ability to record and to speak out and all that stuff, all of this data that they have. And I wonder what they'll actually say. Like, oh my God, they still, breathed air? How dare they? Why didn't they just chloroform their own air? Whatever the case may be.
At the height of
Photosynthesize their own
technological
food.
era, I think the average intelligence of the modern person is lower than it was during the cowboy era.
It's designed that way, though.
Mhm.
It is legitimately designed to keep the populace stupid because an incompetent populace is a complacent populace.
Well, it's more advantageous to seek entertainment and joy than to struggle and learn.
Which is why our channel is struggling.
I don't think struggle is the word. I think
We're learning.
growing.
We're
I
learning.
think in the terms of YouTube millions, yeah, sure, of course. But again, too, like, I think a lot of our success would come about with just a camera and some editing. What I
Yeah,
mean by that is
probably.
it's not like the entertainment or that isn't there. It's just the fact that I see people with just it's a more digestible
Polished.
package. There you
It's
go,
more polished.
Yeah.
So that way, the masses can be more glazed over when we just tell them all these facts, and they're just like, "All right, swipe. That's a thing I know now."
Oh, infotainment, entertainment's a thing, and again, a lot of people will just click on and subscribe or whatever without any sort of real, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I watched this other person, like, grow their podcast from nothing to a couple thousand people, but all they really talk about is, like, real estate shit. So, I mean, like, it's not super
It's
entertaining.
how it's delivered. Have you seen the Physics Duck?
No, what's that?
His channel? This guy, he goes by the moniker Physics Duck. He has a really shitty camera, barely gets by with it and all that stuff. Really clever editing, I guess, for a little bit, but it's nothing more than you could do with Adobe Flashpoint or
Okay.
whatever's out there. Like, low quality camera, really clever writing, really clever topics. He talks about the different aspects of this this engineering aspect or that engineering aspect, how this generator from 100 years ago is being pulled out and rewound, so he got to take some footage of it, so that way people, like, only a handful of people have ever seen the thing, but now he's able to put it out there for the masses who are interested in that kind of a thing.
Nice.
Really cool guy. Go check out his channel. It's really clever, but it's
I
just
think
the
he's trying to
same
work on a
quality.
collab or something over here. Trying
It's
to get
this-
some sort of coattails.
Oh, he's like way above. I'd just be sitting there dumbfounded, like, oh my God.
First of all the giant people have to circle around the small people because the group of folks that are potting each other, it gets boring. So they have to reach out to smaller folks and be like I'll use the
Hey, we're gonna
example of
invite you
Joe
over here
Rogan
for
being
new
like,
content.
Hey, pull that video up, Jamie. Hey, did you see that video? Yeah, exactly. So
Yep.
he was referencing some smaller ass channel. And he was just talking about how the guy was doing a really good job presentation wise, and it was only a few thousand subscribers or some shit.
Yeah.
So-
I'm not saying it doesn't pull us over the precipice, but I'm just saying, like, it would help.
Oh no, like that one commenter said, I'd watch.
I'd watch if you had a better camera.
Aren't you watching because you commented? But you'd watch more or resubscribe?
There you go. Or even if we just shot it on a film camera versus something that was made in 2008.
All of the great stuff nowadays is all phone anyway. Everything is all linked up to phones because, again, too, why would you... With that, too, with the camera, you'd have to hook it up to your phone or the internet anyway. When it's already connected to the internet. So.
This is true.
And there's 3 cameras in them instead of 1 camera.
Well, we'll see how well this video does.
We just got to buy a really, really good, like, iPhone 27, and that'll be our recording.
With your donation for tacos and coffee, we won't buy tacos or coffee. We'll get a phone. I really don't want to anyway.
What was that, Epstein? What?
I'm just going to let the fluoride stare take effect. On this episode of the Toast of the Weird. Clever editing. Yeah, we do need a better editor. Fuck our current editor.
No, we just got to hook up with someone in a third world country and pay them, you know. Everything's about outsourcing. It's all I see is people talk about, oh, you need to get a editor in the Philippines or from so-and-so or whatever. And again, too, like, with respect, I thought about cashing out all my money and moving to a place that, you know, translates 100,000 into, you know, 300,000 from currency exchange.
That's not bad.
It's not a bad idea.
No. I've thought about homesteading.
Yeah, in like...
Fuck a duck.
What's that? One of our colonies you don't need a passport to go to or whatever?
Puerto Rico.
There we go.
Puerto
That one guy you like following all the time lives in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, a lot of rich people live in Puerto Rico because they get tax benefits or whatever. It's just an incentivized thing to go live in there, in that place. But it's kind of like Hawaii. Once everybody lives there, nobody's going to like you. Living there, I guess, is the rest of it.
So it's kind of like Arizona with Californians?
Yeah, sure.
Or like wherever from
or like
other state,
Texas
like
with Floridians, or Texas with
everywhere
Californians, and
yeah. So
Texas has some really cool income laws and whatever.
Really? What
Yeah,
do you mean?
and it's on the state's side.
Income laws.
Yeah, I don't think they have a state income tax.
Good.
So
I think income tax is theft. Income tax is theft.
no, they get you on the property.
Income tax is theft. You get taxed on your income when you and your company, and you get money, and then you have to pay. I can't remember who I was watching and talking to, but again, it was literally the line of taxing.
Have you
get taxed
seen
on
all
the
the
property,
taxes
but
that we pay, though?
It's robbery. It's absolute theft. I don't care about the whole phrase taxation without representation or blah 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 blah. It's just garbage. It's absolute fucking garbage. We get taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
Spam call.
We got to be more funny.
Yeah, I'm getting a little depressed listening. So next time?
Yep. Next time.
Funnier?